Oh, yes, okay.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And on behalf of the Village of Cary and the Board of Zoning, Planning, and Appeals, I'd like to hereby call this meeting to order on this Thursday, April the 11th, 2024. The time is 7 p.m. and we have a quorum of members. At this time, I'd like to ask our Director of Community Development, Mr. Brian Simmons, to please call the roll.
Graziano? Here. Jasper? Trandell?
Yeah, here.
Kretschmer?
Here.
O'Laughlin?
Here.
Williams?
Here.
Cassetter?
Here.
Corey?
Here. Thank you very much, everyone. We invite you to rise with us for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Thank you very much, everyone. Before we begin, I know some of you recall our last meeting, which was a little bit higher profile than some of our other meetings. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, everyone, is because I received a few calls and a few emails about being able to hear when we were making comments. So just so you're aware, when you're speaking into your microphone, you'll see the green light would be lit. You have to really be on top of the microphone. When I'm looking left or right, you'll hear that my voice will fade off.
Yeah.
So it's a very sensitive mic. So thank you very much in advance for understanding. Also, for the petitioner, I don't pretend to know if you've done this before with the village, but I'll just kind of step you through the process. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask. So the way we do this typically is we ask Mr. Simmons to give us an overview of the application, and then members of the ZPA may have some questions for Mr. Simmons. Once we conclude that portion, we'll ask you to step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. In case you're unaware, the proceedings do get recorded, so those that are not present can look at the meeting at a future date and time. When you make your presentation, you obviously can make any additional comments or commentary to the application that you think is appropriate to yourself, and then members of the ZPA may have some questions for you. Once we conclude that portion, I'm not sure if there's members of the public that want to speak. Once again, if you do, just step to the podium to make your comment, and we'll take it from there. Just so you know, the process of public comment is not for you to ask us questions and for us to respond back, although we try to be an open-minded bunch. If we get into a lot of questions, what we'll do is we'll ask the petitioner to catalog the questions and then respond back on rebuttal if there's a lot of questions about the application. Once we close the public portion of the meeting, the members of the ZPA may have some questions amongst themselves, and then we take a vote, and then that vote gets delivered back to the elected officials. So that's the process. So before I handle an administrative matter, do you have any questions about our process tonight? No? Okay, very good. So folks, in your packet, you would have received the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which would have been March the 14th, 2024. That was related to the District 26 Transportation Center. So unless there's anyone that has any concerns about the way the meetings were positioned, the chair will entertain a voice vote to approve the meeting minutes, March the 14th, 2024. Those in favor of approving say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much. At this time, I will turn the podium over to Mr. Simmons to review Village Case 1913229-019.
That's the parcel number, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We're off to the races again. ZPA case 2402002, and this is for 44 Crystal Street in the approval of a planned development unit for zoning departures for a mixed-use commercial building with 2 dwelling units above the ground floor. And over to you, Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The request this evening, as mentioned, is for a proposed planned development within the downtown zoning district with a few zoning departures related to the proposed project. Overview of the property, it's zoned B1, which is our central business district. The petitioner is seeking approval, again, as a planned development, specifically for a development that would have 2 residential units on the 2nd story of the building. There currently is a 2-story mixed-use building on the property which has 1 residential unit, and they're looking to expand the building. The zoning departures related to the project would include the reduction of the required parking spaces for the 2nd-story residences from 5 spaces down to 4 spaces. a lot coverage of increase from 85% to 100% to reflect existing conditions on the property, and then a density departure for an increase in the density for the property from 18 units per acre as permitted within the B1 district to 22 units per acre. Staff researched the history of the property, and obviously it was built early 20th century in 1910 after the village became incorporated in 1893, and is operated as a mixed-use building throughout its lifetime with various retail uses on its first level. Within the village's regulations, the Unified Development Ordinance, the village has guidelines for planned developments, which are intended to permit and encourage flexibility of design. And a summary of the code is shown on the screen, but essentially the planned development ordinance is designed to provide more efficient use of land, unify building and structures through design, and kind of promote more long-term planning consistent with the village's comprehensive plan. Within the Unified Development Ordinance, any property that is to be developed that is over 2 acres in size is required to get approved as a planned development. And also any property which is zoned B1 or B3R, which are in the downtown area of the village, are also required to obtain approval as a PUD for a new development. So that in this case, because the property is zoned B1 and they're proposing an addition to the building, an additional residential unit, it requires approval as a planned development in this case. Under the proposal, the proposed existing condition and proposed site plan are shown in the slide. The petitioner is proposing to do a 2-story addition to the existing 2-story building, approximately 1,600 square feet in total area. It would include the addition of a residential unit on the 2nd story and roughly, 500 square feet of new commercial space and a 230 square foot patio in the rear of the structure. The petitioner is also providing 2 spaces per residential unit, which would provide a total of 4 spaces. And those can be evidenced in the rear of the property along the drive aisle near Veterans Park. There will be 2 spaces per unit that will be in tandem style. So the vehicles that are in each individual unit have to park behind each other, front bumper to rear bumper, and then, but there would be 2 spaces assigned per unit from that standpoint. This slide shows the proposed floor layout for both the 2nd story and the main level. As you can see in the 2nd story, there is an existing 3-bedroom unit on the 2nd story of the building. The rear would include a new 2-bedroom unit, apartment unit, and then the main story would convert the existing bar space, have some interior renovations performed to it, but then the 500 square foot addition in the back of the building would provide additional seating for customers that would be visiting the establishment. The petitioner is planning to utilize the basement level of the building potentially for a full service kitchen. And then on the main level here would be a serving kitchen for providing food to the visitors of the establishment. In the rear of the building, that would be an outdoor patio that would be newly constructed. That would also provide some outdoor seating towards the rear of the site facing Veterans Park. This slide shows the existing front elevation, which is seen from Route 14 or Crystal Street on the left-hand slide. The petitioner is proposing to make some modifications to the front facade to replace the existing glass storefront with a new stone veneer and glass opening overhead door windows that would provide some access into the space or air into the space, and then a new entry door as well. Other modifications would be re-siding the building with new hardy board materials to provide more durable materials on the facade, and a metal awning or canopy across the front facade as well. One recommendation that staff has regarding the proposed elevations would be to continue the stone veneer across the entire facade, as currently it does end next to the entrance to the retail space, and there's siding that's brought down to the street level for the access to the residential unit that's on the second story. To provide more consistent facade at the street level, staff would recommend that stone material be extended across the entire lower facade of the building. This slide shows the proposed improvements to the rear of the structure. As you can see, there is an existing patio that is on the back of the building currently. That would be incorporated into the proposed building addition, where there would be the second level extended out with the additional seating and windows provided along a deck access point on the side of the structure, and then above would be the rental unit in the rear of the building here. There would be, again, an outdoor patio area that would provide some visibility towards the Veterans Park, and then there would be storage area on a basement level below the addition is also. Within the proposed plan development, there are a few departures from the zoning regulations or bulk regulations related to the project. As previously mentioned, one reduction is the number of parking spaces that are provided on site. By code, any use within the downtown B1 district is required to provide parking for any land uses that are above the first floor or main level. Parking at the main level is per discretion of the community development director if any parking would be required for the proposed use. So with the addition of an additional unit in the second story, our code requires 2.25 spaces per residential unit, and then rounding up would require, instead of 4.5 spaces, would require a total of 5 spaces for the use. The petitioner is providing 4 spaces, so which would equate to 2 spaces per tenant space. And then within the downtown area, from the commercial standpoint, there is ample additional parking provided downtown, both on Main Street or Crystal Street along the front of the property that could be utilized, and then also commuter parking would be available for patrons of the establishment to utilize outside the main rush hour or early morning rush for commuters. The petitioners also mentioned, should there be a higher demand for parking at this location, they may consider at some point adding valet parking services there as well. The second departure requested is for the lot coverage of the property. This departure is to request for the existing conditions of the site, as the site is fully developed with no green space on it currently. That lot coverage would be to increase the code from 85% to 100% for the site, again, to reflect the existing conditions. The third and final departure requested is related to the density of the project. As mentioned, the development would only include a total of 2 units, but due to the small size of the property of just under 1/10 of an acre, the resulting density is 21.3 units per acre, which exceeds the 18 maximum permitted within the code. The table, which is in the lower right-hand portion of the slide, shows how the proposed density for this project compares with other properties, both within the B1 district and also within the rest of the village. And the closest property, which is slightly to the west at 4850 Crystal Street, has 3 units, again, comparable size property, but its density is roughly 27 units per acre. If you include the totality of the properties, which are from Borden Avenue through the old Village Hall building on Crystal Street, there are a total of 9 residential units through that entire block. So the density of the area is not significantly high, but with this individual property, it would require the approval of that departure. Within the comprehensive plan, the guidance for the property has a designation for mixed use, which reflects the existing conditions of the downtown area. And mixed use is appropriate for mixed-use developments, which typically include commercial uses on the ground floor and office or residential uses on upper floors. That reflects the existing condition of the property and also the proposed expansion of the building, which therefore complies with the mixed-use designation in the comprehensive plan for the site. The Downtown Cary Strategic Plan provides additional guidance related to the area. And the image which is shown is a excerpt from the downtown plan, which looked at trying to encourage revitalizing active uses within the downtown area. So reuses of existing buildings with additional spaces for outdoor use, and the petitioner is proposing an outdoor patio in the rear of the building, but also to try and encourage additional rental housing options within the downtown core. So based off the guidance of the comprehensive plan and the Downtown Cary Strategic Plan, staff believes that the proposed project does meet the future guidance for land uses within the downtown area for the site. Within the code, there are various standards that can be reviewed for planned developments, which are summarized in the slide, but specifically looking at the conformity with the comprehensive plan and general planning policies of the village, parking and traffic, buffering of adjacent uses, impacting other properties are a few items of note. The petitioner did provide a response to the standards within their petition, indicating how they believe the use complies with the standards. In addition, for the modification or departures, there are various standards that can be considered as far as how they relate to the overall design of the project, the integrated design, the landscape conservation, visual enhancement, drives parking circulation, that can be considered from the board for approval of potential departures as part of a PUD. So in summary, in regards to case 24 ZPA 0202, should the ZPA determine that the various standards have been met, it is recommended that the ZPA recommend to the village board approval of the Lucky Corner Plan development located at 4244 Crystal Street, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions that the board may have regarding this, and the petitioners here as well provide additional testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Great job as always. So, ladies and gentlemen, questions for Mr. Simmons?
What's the existing use on the first floor?
The existing use is a bar.
It is a bar.
Yes. It was Happy's Bar.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Graciano?
No, that was, I was confused because, well, never mind.
I can appreciate that, Mr. Graciano. So,
Yeah, I don't know if the floor plan that I have in here shows the existing condition, but yeah, they are proposing, or currently in the process of renovating the front space where the existing bar is located at. The building essentially ends in this location here currently, so this is all retail space on the first floor. The addition would be from here back, so the 500 square feet, and then another exit would be added to the side of the building.
Mr. Williams?
And that's phase two, right? I was trying to, so phase one would just be the blank slate, wherever that was on the different slide. But
Correct.
phase two would be the addition.
Correct, yeah. Phase one is, doesn't require any zoning approvals. They're planning to renovate the existing retail space, so they've started some demolition work in there, and they can reestablish a commercial use in that space. But phase two, which is what is for review by the zoning board this evening, is for the building addition and relief requested this evening.
Thanks.
Brian, you said that there was really no green space there at all right now, correct?
Correct, yeah, the property,
It's paved all the way to the back.
correct.
So I guess when we say we're going for lot coverage from 85 to 100%, we're already at 100%.
Correct. It's to solidify what's the existing condition.
What's
is of the
existing?
property.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
So
because
it's-
I was like, I was pretty sure it was paved all the way to the lake.
Yeah, and these properties as well from, as you can see by the aerial here, the drive aisle that goes behind the properties that provides access is not actually on each property. It's actually,
Is that
actually
village?
Park District owned.
Oh, it's Park District?
Yeah, the village used to own the park, but that was deeded to the Park District several years ago.
Okay,
But that access that goes behind the sites would be in addition to the property that is up the .9 acres,
gotcha.
.09 acres, sorry.
And then the parking, it looks like it's, was it double, like a double space? Is that how that works to get the 4?
Correct,
Yeah,
yeah, there's two
okay.
tandem spaces, so you have two spaces that are nose to tail, so you'd have, you can see here, these would be the 4 spaces provided in the site. This would be 1 space, this would be a second space per unit, and then you'd have another space, another space. So these individual spaces would be leased to and assigned to the individual residential units. So if somebody were to have 2 vehicles, in order to exit out one of their vehicles, they would have to move the first one if they were behind it.
I do that.
Is there a, like a dumpster back there? I mean, you got the,
Don't believe there's a dumpster located on the property currently.
Just-
I'm not sure.
just
The
curious.
petitioner provided.
you could, yeah, just curious where they take their trash.
Yep.
Mr. Simmons, a question I typically ask you is that a number of people were noticed as part of the application. Did anyone call you or email you about concerns or questions about the application?
Staff did not receive information from this position.
Okay, thank you. So before we turn it over to the petitioner, I just want to double check with all of you. Okay, so for the petitioner, if you'd like to step forward, if you'd like to ask, make any additional comments or color to the application, you're welcome to do that. And again, when you step forward, if you just wouldn't mind stating your name and address for the record, thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Jonathan Dalla. I live in Chicago, 235 West Van Buren. Yeah, so I'm the petitioner and designer for the building and the addition.
Did you want to offer any other comments or do you?
No, not at the moment, no.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. So maybe I'll ask the members of the ZPA if they have any questions for yourself.
Yeah, I got one. So where's the dumpster? Where's the trash go?
On the property right now, there's no dumpster, but if the city asks us to provide a dumpster, we can definitely get to that.
What do they do? I'm just curious. I mean, what do they do right now? Would be
Well, I guess it's probably around the property, but I'm not sure I've seen any dumpster on the property, so I cannot confirm that there is a dumpster.
Because yeah, because you get apartments, you're gonna have trash and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want it like piling up somewhere. So
Yeah. Well, they probably have a shared dumpster with the neighborhood around back.
okay,
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah, we would, it's a good question. I think we would require that, obviously, there's a contract with the service provider to provide service there. And generally, we would look for, if there is a dumpster, that it be an enclosure per code. But that's certainly something we can review as part of the building permit process to make sure one's sited on the property, proper location.
All right, anyone else? Questions for the petitioner? All right, Mr. Della, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, what we will do is open it up to the public. And again, if you wouldn't mind just stepping forward and stating your name and address for the record, and thank you very much and welcome.
My name is Vikram Mehta. We have a property right next door to them on north side, 46 Crystal Street. I am all for anything happening over there, except one thing, when they do this building, I want to make sure right now, presently, their second story is actually leaning toward my side, almost 8 to 10 inches in the back part. And that is actually the airspace of my property. So they should straighten it out, and I want to go this one on the record. That's why I'm just here. But otherwise, I have no problem with that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mattel.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that would like to comment from the public here? So, Mr. Della, I think, given the concern of the public comment, do you want to comment further on the building potentially leading 10 inches towards the other gentleman's property, or is that something do you want to take away separately at a different time?
Given that we are gonna be doing an addition in the back on the second story, we'll probably make sure that we straighten down the structure to make sure that we're not leaning toward this way. But we're doing also an addition in the back, which will require some structural work. So that'll be a perfect opportunity to kind of like straighten the building up.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Della.
Thanks.
Okay, folks, unless there's anyone else that wants to comment from the public, we will close the public comment portion. And unless members of the ZPA have questions amongst themselves about the petition, I'll probably call the motion as it's written. The chair will entertain a motion to recommend to the Village Board of Trustees approval of the Lucky Corner Plan Development located at 42 through 44 Crystal Street, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. And those conditions, I'm not going to read them all, but there are 8 of them, and on number 8, there's A through F.
So moved with one caveat that we add a 9th condition, being a dumpster on site is required by city code.
Okay?
Second?
All right, so we will now include the 9th condition as a dumpster on property, if I heard that correctly.
Yes,
Mr. O'Loughlin.
dumpster on property.
Okay.
As I understood, Brian, it would be required, so let's make sure it's in there.
All right, at this time, I will ask Mr. Simmons to call the roll, please.
First and Williams second.
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Kessler,
Yes.
Graziano,
No.
Trandell,
Yes.
Kretschmer,
Yes.
Corey.
Yes. So, Mr. Della, you have approval to move forward with your application. The next step in the process is to stay in coordination with Mr. Simmons, because this will need to go forward to the elected officials. I can't promise you tonight if this is going to appear on the consent agenda or be pulled off, and there'll be additional questions like we had here tonight. I don't know. But Mr. Simmons would be best to coordinate with in terms of the next meeting date, which I'm assuming is around May-ish?
Yeah, May 7th.
Okay, which would be a Tuesday. So we'll wish you success, and thank you very much. And folks, before we adjourn, I just want to make a brief comment. 2 of the ladies here, as you know, and maybe Holly's a little bit different because kind of a hybrid, but your first anniversary is coming up, ladies. And I just really want to publicly say thank you for the great work that you do for us, because I don't know if we're going to have a meeting next month or not yet. So this is kind of your first anniversary, but I really do want to say thank you for the good work that you do for us. And, you know, having some diversity on the ZPA actually matters. It creates a better process for us, so thank
No
you very,
party?
very much. Apparently, no gold watch either, Holly. So, but I really do want to say, and to all of you, I want to say thank you very much. You've heard me say this before, that I consider the folks on the ZPA the unsung heroes of our community. Things like this can't get done unless you're doing the work, right? So thank you very, very much. And we have a bigger anniversary coming up, as we talked about earlier, someone we know here is about to celebrate a significant milestone that we'll look forward to doing in July. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not gonna get renewed, yeah?
I think you did.
You are up for renewal.
Yeah. Oh, is it renewed or not renewed? It's up for renewal. Okay, all right, well.
If you want to.
I personally want to do another 5 years on the circuits, you know?
I think you do get a gold watch for that, Mr. Graziano. Yeah. But I'll just close with this, folks. I really want to say thank you very much for the good work that you do. You know, I think the language that we use at the ZPA can sometimes be arcane, and perhaps not everybody completely understands it, but you need a variance on your garage, you got to come here and it gets approved. So just thank you very, very much for the good work, and happy anniversary, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so unless there's anything else, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Meeting adjourned, and thank you.
even though it's not a requirement.
Is it or not?
You told us a long time ago that it didn't require a second.
Well, you know,